Hello friends and welcome to this another video on Authentic English. And today we're going to talk about the poem known as Gift of India by Sarojini Naidu. Now first of all, let me give you a little background and introduction to this poem. So this poem was written in 1915 by Mrs. Sarojini Naidu, who was a freedom fighter, a feminist, a poet and a follower of Mahatma Gandhi. So she was a lot of things. She was a freedom fighter, worked for women's rights, she was a feminist, she was a poet and also a follower of Mahatma Gandhi. And it is interesting to know that she fought for the attainment of Swaraj by our country. She was born in a Bengali family in Hyderabad. So she was born in Hyderabad, and you all must have read that poem in the bazaars of Hyderabad. Known as the Nightingale of India, her poetry features patriotism, nature, and life in general. Okay, so the important aspects of a poetry include patriotism, nature, and life in general. Now, first of all, it's important to understand that she was born in an India which was not free and which was under the British Raj. Now, we all know that, the life under the British Raj was not easy. It was, in fact, disgusting. And the present generation can never recognize and can never, kind of understand what the people that lived during that time went through. British, we all know, exploited India by every way for its resources, manpower, and everything in between. So, what happened was that during the time of the First World War, and since Britain was occupying India at that time, Britain chose as many as 10 lakh soldiers from India to fight in the First World War on its side. Okay, so Britain chose Indian soldiers to fight in the First World War from its side in the Allies. We all know that the First World War took place between the Allies and the Axis powers, and the Allies included Britain, USA, and all of those countries. And since Britain was occupying a lot of countries, it chose manpower from there to help it in winning the war. So about 1 million soldiers from India were, selected to fight in the war, and many of them died during the course. But when we talk about the First World War, their contribution is never recognized. And in this poem, Sarojini Naidu is urging all of us, to recognize what the Indians did. She talks about how Indians contributed in the war in every way, and yet they remain unsung heroes. They are not recognized for any of their brave, sacrifices. So this is what the poem is all about. So one important thing that we need to recognize about this poetess is that she has the ideas of patriotism. However, since she was writing at the time when India was ruled by Britain, her writings cannot forcefully, exert the fact that the British is bad. She chooses, a modest path in which she gives out her ideas of freedom, liberty, and patriotism. She wants the freedom of a country. She does not want to remain under the British rule. However, she cannot explicitly say that. So her poetry also represents and highlights the conflicts between the East and the West. The East and the West had, dissimilar interests. Their interests lay in different directions. The East wanted something else and the West wanted something else, and that is the reason why Britishers were made to leave India in 1947. There were many revolts, 1857 revolt, Peasants' Revolt, and so many other revolts took place all throughout India, which ultimately led to the freedom of our country. So the East and the West had similar interests, and her poems kind of represent that, at least in some manner. So it's important to realize that what Sarojini Naidu writes has a sense of patriotism in it. She was a lover of a country and wanted freedom and the upliftment of all the people that lived in India. Okay, and she was born in a very aristocratic family, and she had access to the Britishers and all of the good stuff in general. Yet she must have been, saddened by the fact that other Indians were made to live such horrible lives during the time of the British Raj, during all that period of colonization and imperialism. Now, colonization and imperialism are two terms that are often used in literature and history also. So they both mean the same thing, that that powerful countries from typically the West occupied less powerful countries in the East, just like Britain occupied India, England occupied India. So that is what is known as colonization. India became a colony of the Britain, and that is what is meant by imperialism. Mrs. Naidu is still considered one of India's greatest 20th century poets. She wrote at a time when India was not free, typically, and she's considered as one of the most important 20th century poets in India. In the poem, Naidu discusses the contributions of the Indian soldiers in the First World War, for which they were never recognized in the vast history of the war. So the war has a vast history, but never in school textbooks or anywhere else do they mention the fact that soldiers from the colonies, and particularly from India, fought bravely and in large numbers in a war which was of someone else. It was not a war in which India was directly involved. It was a war of the other powerful countries in the world. But Britain chose Indian soldiers, and then chose not to recognize their contributions in any manner. So this poem is a plea, to the world and to the colonizers in general to recognize what the Indian heroes did. The remained unsung heroes in this poem voices the immense struggle they went through when they were made to fight on the side of the Allies. Since India then was a colony of Britain, it is to be noted that more than 1 million Indian soldiers fought in the war, and many of them lost their lives. So about 1 million, that is about 10 lakh Indian soldiers fought in the war, and many of them died. This poem endeavors to pay a tribute to them for their miraculous work which has always been overlooked. So this poem is kind of a tribute to them. Compare the poem with the popular song Mere Watan Ke Logo. So the song by Lata Mangeshkar also, talks about similar ideas, that we have to, recognize the soldiers for their bravery. The poem discusses how Indian soldiers fought bravely in a war which their country was not directly involved in, while also talking about the diverse benefits that other countries obtained from India. So all the colonizers, Britain, particularly Britain, it gathered so many benefits from India. It took away gold from India. India was once known as Sone ki Chidiya. We all know that, the golden bird. But it took away a lot of gold, so many sources of literature, so many food grains, and exploited India in every manner. It made India so poor that, we are still not able to completely become a developed country like them. They came in one of the richest countries of the world, and then, left it in a devastating condition when they left the country. So colonization, this period of colonization was very bad. The poem discusses how Indian soldiers fought bravely in a war which their country was not. We're also talking about the diverse benefits that other countries obtained from India. So they never recognized India for any of these benefits, whether it was the benefit of manpower or benefit of other resources. Her poem features the emotions of love, respect, sorrow, and anger all together. So all the powerful emotions can be found in a poem. Love for the motherland, respect for those soldiers, and sorrow that they are not recognized, and anger that they are not recognized. Her love for her country and patriotism can be seen all throughout this poem. The narrator can be thought of as Mother India. So this poem can be thought of as being narrated by Mother India herself, who talks probably to the colonizers and to the world in general. Okay? But talks especially to the British Raj, or in fact to the entire world, about what pain she and her sons have been through and how much she has lost, and that's what she laments for. So Mother India talks about how much she has lost, how she has lost her powerful and, beloved sons. What are the beloved sons? The soldiers. India has lost so many soldiers. So much of human resource has been lost by India. Apart from food grains, textiles, and other such, monetary resources. She finally wants honor for her dead sons. At the last of the poem, what we'll find is she wants honor for those dead soldiers. She'll ask that when the world is peaceful and everything is fine, and when you are going to pay tributes to all the soldiers who fought bravely in your war, do not forget the contribution that the Indian soldiers paid in it. Okay, so the poem shows us problems that were created by the British Raj in India, how the British robbed India of its wealth, and how Indians always occupied an inferior position during the time. That is an aspect of the poem. So Indians always occupied an inferior position. It is one of the themes of the poem that Indians were never given their complete and total rights. They were always subjugated. They were always downtrodden. Okay. Thus the contributions of the Indian soldiers in the war need to be properly recognized. It just can't be ignored. It is very important that we recognize what the Indian soldiers in India in general paid, for the First World War. And probably the war would not have had such an outcome if people from the colonies, and particularly India, did not participate in it. And one of the notions can be this, that Indian soldiers were forced to participate in the war, which shows that how downtrodden Indians were during the time of the Raj. Is there, now let's begin with the stanza wise explanation of the poem. Is there aught you need that my hands withhold? Rich gifts of raiment, or grain, or gold? Lo, I have flung to the east and west priceless treasures torn from my breast, and yielded the sons of my stricken womb to the drumbeats of duty, the sabres of doom. So, in the first poem, first paragraph, the poet asks, the world and the colonizers. Mother India asks, okay, the narrator is Mother India, is there anything that my hands withhold? Rich gifts of raiment, or grain, or gold. Anything that you've needed, I've always given you, whether it is garments, or grain, or gold. India talks about the various things that she has given to the world, which include garments, cloths, a lot of fiber, like cotton, grain, gold, and other such rich gifts and precious resources have been given by India to the entire world, and particularly to Britain, who exploited India for such resources. Lo, I have flung to the east and west priceless treasures torn from my breast. India has sacrificed much of its resources for the benefit of all the world in general, for the benefit of the eastern countries, for the benefit of the western countries. Okay? Priceless treasures torn from my breast. This can imply that the treasures were sometimes forcefully robbed from her. So Mother India is of course sad to see how much she has lost for the benefit of this entire world. And she considers this as sacrifice. She is not very sad that she has been robbed of it. Instead, she considers them as sacrifice and takes pride in it. So, what Mother India says is that I have given everything that the world ever needed. In fact, I myself became poor to make others richer, and yielded the sons of my stricken womb, but most importantly, the sons of my stricken womb, to the dumb beats of duty, the sabres of doom. I have lost my sons. Mother India says that she has lost its sons, that is, her precious soldiers, and all those people who fought in the wars, and she has sent them away to the destruction and the menace of war. Swords of destruction. Sabres of doom means swords of destruction, which implies Mother India lost her beloved soldiers, her sons, by sending them away to dangerous wars. She has lost such great manpower and such great human resources. So, it's a reference to the First World War, wherein, as I told you earlier, a lot of Indian soldiers were sent to fight on the side of the Britishers. Okay? So sacrificed everything she had, all riches like gold, garments, and fruit grains, sent her beloved sons and all the riches everywhere in the world for the sake of the country's commitment. Is it not enough? Feeling of sorrow and anger. So there is of course a feeling of sorrow for what she has lost, and of course anger that in spite of doing all of this, she was never recognized as an important, factor that helped in shaping the World War as it was, particularly World War. India always remained committed. Since the Britishers were occupying India, Indian soldiers did not refuse their duty and went to the war because of their commitment. So India gave everything to the world that the world needed, but in return got nothing. And this is what is the cause of sorrow and anger for Mother India. Gathered like pearls in their alien graves, silent asleep by the Persian waves, scattered like shells on Egyptian sands, they lie with pale brows and brave, broken hands. They are strewn like blossoms, mown down by chance, on the blood-brown meadows of Flanders and France. Now, in this stanza, the poet talks about how the Indians lie in graves in foreign countries, very far apart from their motherlands. What happened was that Indian soldiers were sent to various countries like Persia, Egypt, etc. to fight the wars. And when they died there, they were buried there, so many miles away from their own motherland. They lie with pale brows and brave, broken hands. So their brows have become pale and their hands have become broken. All, kind of tell us about the destruction that there is in war. So this poem does not praise war in any way or says that war is great. Okay? We should remember that pro patria mori, whatever that line was. That poem, dulce et decorum est pro patria mori. That line is a lie. Okay? There is no glory in war. This poem is no sense, encouraging war. In fact, it presents to us, although covetedly, the horrors of the war. They lie with pale brows and brave, broken hands. So their hands have been broken, or in fact their bodies have been mutilated, but still Since they lie dead, they lie dead bravely. Okay? Their heads are held up high. They are strewn like blossoms mown down by chance. They are spread like flowers over the surface of the earth. Okay? Flowers that have been uprooted accidentally, which implies that the soldiers did not deserve to die. But they were, because they were chosen to fight in the war in which someone else was involved. On the blood brown meadows of Flanders in France, they lie dead in various parts of the world. Laments the loss of lives of the soldiers who were sent to fight in faraway lands. Their bodies were buried in foreign lands. The soldiers are compared to scattered flowers lying on the ground by chance, which indicates that they didn't deserve death on the blood covered grasslands of Flanders in France. So, in the faraway countries, the soldiers are lying dead, and Mother India only can lament about it. But still, their contribution is never recognized. Can ye measure the grief of the tears I weep, or compass the woe of the watch I keep, or the pride that thrills through my heart's despair, and the hope that comforts the anguish of prayer, and the far sad glorious vision I see of the torn red banners of victory. Now, in this stanza, Mother India openly talks about the grief and sorrow she feels. Okay? Mother India is extremely sad to witness the loss of her sons, says no one can understand the pain she feels. However, she is still proud of her brave sons. She still has hopes that her sons will return safely. She hopes to see the victory that will restore peace, but that glory would be sad since the sons will be lost. Optimistically tells us that sacrifices shall help us see a happier world in the future. So the stanza is clearly anti-war. Can you measure the grief of the tears I weep? So Mother India weeps the tears. Okay, Mother India is weeping because she will lose so many sons in the war, and she knows that. Or compass the woe of the watch I keep. What she is witnessing is, of course, damaging her eyesight. She is not happy to see what she is seeing. Or the pride that thrills through my heart's despair. Still, there is a pride. She has despair that she may lose her sons, but she has a pride. She is proud because she knows that her sons will help the world become a better place, and the hope that comforts the anguish of prayer. She has hope that maybe her sons will come back safely and the world will be a better place. But still, the sad part of it, that the sons can be lost, is never erased. And the far sad glorious vision I see of the torn red banners of victory. So this paragraph is, talking about a very anti-war idea, that war always brings sadness. It brings sadness to the soldiers, to their families. Mother India can be thought of as the mother of the soldiers who would feel the same way. The mothers of the soldiers who were sent to faraway wars, they might be worried about how their sons are doing. But still, they have this hope and this pride in their hearts that maybe because of their valor and because of their bravery, they might help the world become a better place. And the far sad glorious vision I see, the glorious vision she sees of happiness and of peace, is actually sad because she knows, that the soldiers will be lost, and that too lost in large numbers. And it is a fact that many of the soldiers who went to fight in the World War I died of the torn red banners of victory. Okay, so victory will come, but that would be sad because the soldiers will be dead, or maybe dead. But still, she has hope and she has optimism. She doesn't remain sad. She knows that whatever is happening for the good, and their bravery and their valor will never go, wasted. When the terror and the tumult of hate shall cease, and life be refashioned on anvils of peace, and your love shall offer memorial thanks to the comrades who fought in your dauntless ranks, and you honor the deeds of the deathless ones, remember the blood of thy martyred sons. So in the last stanza, the poet talks about what she expects. Okay, she talks about her expectations now, that after the war is over and after peace is restored, although in a very difficult manner, she wants that her sons, the soldiers, should be properly recognized for their valor, for their bravery, and for whatever they did, and for whatever duty they performed in the wars. When the terror and the tumult of hate shall cease, she clearly says that war is all about hatred. It's all about tumultuousness and all about terror. Okay, and when the war ends, when the terror and the tumult of hate shall cease. So it clearly echoes the idea that war is not good in any way and that war is bad. Now, tumult means a state of chaos and disorder. So we all know that what is there during war: tumult, chaos, terror, and hatred. So war is not about love. War is about hate and badness. And life be refashioned on anvils of peace. Now anvils are blocks on which metal can be hammered. So when life is restored, when death is over. Now death implies war. So when the war is over and when peace is restored, although in a very difficult manner, you can see that when the metal is beaten over these anvils, it takes a lot of force, a lot of effort to do that. So the restoring of peace will also take a lot of effort. Peace is not going to come easy after wars. So the aftermath of war is actually very disgusting. When the war gets over, there is a lot of sorrow, lot of pain, and lot of problems. She knows that peace will not come easy. But still, there will be a time when there is going to be peace and happiness. So she talks about that time. And life be refashioned on anvils of peace. And your love shall offer memorial thanks. And when you are about to offer memorial thanks to all those soldiers and all those, people who fought bravely in your wars, to the comrades who fought in your dauntless ranks, to all those soldiers who fought in your fearless ranks, who are a part of your army, and you honor the deeds. She's saying this to the colonizers, particularly the Britishers. Mother India is saying this. And you honor the deeds of the deathless ones. Okay? And you are honoring all that the martyrs and all that the deathless ones did. The deathless ones refers to the soldiers. They are deathless because of their bravery and valor. They can never die. They are always going to remain in our memories because of their valor. So deathless means immortal because of their courage. Refers to the soldiers who performed bravely in the wars. And so when you honor the deeds of all the deathless soldiers, of all the immortal soldiers that fought bravely in the war, remember the blood of their martyred sons. You also need to remember the contributions, particularly of the Indian soldiers who helped fight in the war and lost their lives or got wounded during all of that time. Talks about the peace that shall follow the war. Optimism and hope prevails. So there is an optimism and hope that reflects in the stanza. There is going to be a time when peace shall be restored. And Mother India expects the world to remember the martyrs of India who fought bravely in the war. Wants the soldier to be immortalized for their valor and strength. So their sacrifice of their lives for our country should not go wasted. So this is a very important aspect. Right now we are living in a generation which does not have to fight wars. So we do not realize how important it used to be and how, lives were claimed. It was like lives did not have any value in the course of war. So war is bad in all the ways. So this being one of the anti-war poems also talks about, the lives of soldiers. You can compare it with poems like The Small Pain in My Chest, and to songs like Ye Mere Watan Ke Logon, which talk about similar ideas. So this was all about the poem. And I know that you might have a lot of questions regarding this poem. So if you've got any questions, you may post them down in the comments and I'm going to give detailed answers to all of them. Okay, just post them down in the comments below and I'm going to answer each and every question that you people ask. I promise. And if you want more such literature videos, not just of ISC but also some other levels, just hit that subscribe button below. More videos are going to come soon, I promise. So consider subscribing, like this video and share it with all your friends who might find this helpful. So thank you so much for watching. Bye bye. Take care.